What is good, everybody? Welcome to another installment of the SEC Connect. I am your host today, Jay, as our usual host, Nick, is out for the evening. We've got the typical panel, except for with two missing. We've got Ty from Around the Table Sports, and then we've got Chris from the Horns Down podcast. And as you can see, the only people not here today are our Longhorn fans. So we're going to go ahead and make sure we bash them heavily and talk really bad about their programs while also talking about a slew of topics here. James, you were 100% wrong. We are definitely on before 7:05. But today's topics we're going to dive into Pac-12 media negotiations, Oklahoma's NIL Bill, Kingsbury to USC, because we want to talk about big news, and in the spring games in the SEC. There's a lot of spring games coming up this weekend, and we want to dive into that. So while you're here, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share as we're growing this channel in preparation for the big SEC move. So, gentlemen, I'm going to let you go ahead and around the table and let everybody know where they can find you. Ty, lead the way.
Yeah, you can find me at Around the Table Sports. Just constant college football content. You already know.
Well, Horns Down Podcast. You already know where you can find me, Chris with a K, on Twitter. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. Like, subscribe to everybody's channel. I'll start this off by just saying that we don't really need Texas fans here. We're here to talk football today. A lot of the topics really concern OU. So what's the point? Okay, let's be real. Nobody wants to hear about Arch Manning being the backup. Okay.
No. Pooh has Pai Mei as his profile picture. Uh-huh. He is good to stay here for as long as he would like.
Oh, that's
yes.
Fine.
Oh yeah,
he's got Pai Mei.
Pooh and frightening all the rest of the Longhorn crew. They can stay here, but they're just going to watch and be observers today. They're not going to be vocal. All right. So, and one last thing before we start. Okay, I want to get this out. Today was supposed to be the day that Nick and I had our debate about Drake Stoops and Jordan Whittington.
Here we go.
Obviously, you can see who's here and who showed up. That's all I have to say.
We'll try and move that to Friday on my live stream. Right? We can still have that debate. We can just do it on my live stream.
We really can. But yeah, that's I'm not even, you know what? I'm not gonna encourage this argument. We'll let y'all jump on that on ties, but let's dive right into the main events, shall we? And y'all, of course, y'all can find me, Jay, Unfair Sports, from the usual spots. And yeah, let's jump into the first one. This was interesting.
So we're talking about the Pac-12 joining the OWN?
Yes, let's talk about that. The Pac-12 is going to join Oprah's network, the OWN network. It feels like we don't know what the heck's happening. So the latest thing that came down the pipeline is that the Pac-12 is negotiating with the CW to host their games, and of course, y'all know the jokes was flowing.
Hold on, the same network that shows Supernatural, the same
Supergirl, Arrow, Vampire Diaries,
Smallville.
Right before Smallville comes on, you're going to have Pac-12 After Dark.
Frightening. It's not responsible for me to run anything, so absolutely not. No, I don't need to run anything. I'm a conscientious observer.
As you can tell, Frightening, I am the host now that Nick isn't here today. So I'm going to try to, reel this in so we can have a concise show that will definitely spend the entire hour going back and forth. So Ty, talk to me. What was your first thoughts when you heard this news?
Look, I can't say I'm surprised. I mean, if you've been following this, you know that it hasn't been going exactly according to plan. And I understand this is an SEC channel. We are focusing SEC. But guys, this is just so wild, so ridiculous. We had to slip a little something in here about it. Look, the Pac-12 was very boisterous. They were very forthright that they thought they were going to get the second best deal. Right. They thought that the Big Ten paved the way for them to get a mega deal. And if not the second best deal, because I don't think this, look, I could be completely wrong. I don't want to speak for anybody in the Pac-12, but if somebody in the Pac-12 looked me dead in the face and said, we can negotiate a higher TV media rights deal than the Big Ten and the SEC, I personally would laugh, but I'm not on the TV media rights side of things. So like, I wouldn't think that would be possible, but I'm not saying that for fact. I just know that the Big Ten, SEC make bank. It never made sense to me how they thought that they were going to just come out of this so unscathed when they've been so laissez-faire about this whole thing. They've almost expected for this mega deal to hit their lap, and now they're realizing when the Big 12 jumped the gun, it's it really, really hurt their ability to continue negotiating. And now look, I joked whenever we came in here, said they're joining the Oprah Winfrey Network, but I mean, come on, guys. This is wild. And both of you will know from talks we've had off screen, I myself love Pac-12 football. And I get it. It's not popular. I love watching Pac-12 football. Chris, how many times have I told you over the 2 years we've been doing stuff like this together? Oh, did you watch X, Y, and Z quarterback in the Pac this week? They're lighting it up.
I said it. Yeah.
Big fan. But this is just ridiculous. It just blows my mind that when there's this much money throwing around in college football, they just drop the ball like this. And to answer one question, Truth, this is a feature that allows me to basically go live. So we're live on the SEC Connect's YouTube channel. Guys, be sure to go over, check out the SEC Connect for all of you that are here from my channel. But I can go live simultaneously. So we can be live on the SEC Connect and my channel to just have a mass gathering. That's why I think it is a little bit confusing.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. And I would normally have it on my channel over at Unfair Sports as well, but because I'm hosting, I decided not to do that. So Chris has it over there at the Horns Down Podcast, as well as Ty's Around the Table Sports. We're all just gonna link it all together and, like I said, keep talking this content. So Chris, what's your thoughts on it? I'll get with you first before I respond to Ty.
Do you want me to lie, or do you want me to just give you the honest to God truth?
Give me the real deal. Give it to us straight.
Okay.
Not straight, terrible. But straight. I need it straight, like for real.
This is terrible. Can y'all hear me? Let me say that one more time. This is terrible. Okay. Let's just be honest. Okay. Ty broke it down from like a college football standpoint. Let's talk about it for real. Okay. Look, we just named all the shows: Supernatural, The Flash, Green Lantern, Smallville, shows like that, Vampire Diaries. What is their target audience for CW? It's teens and tweens. Okay. Let's be honest. And probably like young adults. I mean, got people who are of college age, aging out of college, kind of. That's pretty much where the target audience is at. You're not going to be able to sway people to come and watch your Oregon State and Washington games, or Oregon State and Washington State games on the CW channel. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. Your average audience is not going to be very large. The only time that I watch CW would really be for like Supernatural, or when they have that one or those two OU games. You know what I'm talking about, Jay, that are like on that channel for God only knows what reason. You were not planning on watching probably any of the OU game today, but then you all of a sudden just start channel surfing. It's like, what? Wait a minute. OU men playing on CW? Not CBS, not ESPN, not Fox, any of the Fox channels. You're just like, what's going on? So, like I said, it's terrible because from a demographic perspective, I don't know who your target audience is, because obviously you're wanting to get people in there from, that college football age, college football fanatics. But I don't know if anybody's necessarily looking for the CW channel. But no. I'll give them this one positive, though. The CW will probably be the only channel that, if you have Sling, YouTube TV, Fubo, all the rest of those things, you won't have to, or Dish.
That's a great point, actually.
Yeah, you won't have to deal with, I'm losing that channel, at least momentarily, until they get the contracts right. So that's the only positive of it, and the only upside.
What's this the All-American? Yeah.
It's pretty bad. So...
Yeah,
that is a very good point, Chris.
I
didn't even think of that.
I
didn't think of it either. That the one station. They're going to be the only ones that's not going to be in contract disputes, at least for the next couple of years, which is fascinating.
People won't have to worry about like whether they have that channel.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They're going to be available all the time.
Channel.
Oh yeah, it's a channel that you have no choice but to have. Now, the question I ask is does that change once they actually get a sports, media rights deal? Because at that point they need to start selling that inventory. And I think that's usually where your negotiations get a little squirrely, is because these networks are trying to recoup the money that they're spending with these leagues because of them now getting media rights. I think it's fascinating that the CW even wants to get into sports now. I'm surprised NBC hasn't even tried to get at least a cheap deal out of them, being that they only have Notre Dame. NBC has really, for the most part, lost all theirs besides hockey right now.
Like NBC has like tennis, the Olympics, different things like that.
They got all the big worldwide sports.
Yeah.
Totally get that. But we're talking about an opportunity to do college football as well.
But Jay,
what about TBS?
Go ahead, Jay.
That's a good question, Ty. Well, TBS, TBS and TNT are heavy NBA, but they don't really do anything on the weekends.
Well, they haven't done college football since 2006.
That's a fair point. They do.
Yeah, that is a good point. That is a good point. But I'll say this right here, because the last time I remember watching a TBS game, I was with my uncle and we were watching. Who was it? Was it Vince Young leading Texas back over Oklahoma State? Yeah, because it's like they would always go down by like 20 and then end up winning the game. So it's the last time I've seen that. But they're so hockey, and now they have wrestling. Turner Sports is back to having wrestling back on the show, and then also
wrestling.
Yeah, the wrestling. Excuse me, I'm saying it wrong. you know. But they have wrestling on the show now. I mean, on the thing, and then obviously they have they're showing the NBA games and the playoffs and all the rest of that stuff. So I mean, they have a lot of sports on their networks. I just think the CW, in my opinion, Jay, the CW honestly becomes ESPN Plus, Super Plus, to be real with you, but for free, And at some point, they're going to try to incentivize this to where you're kind of it's like pay-per-view almost. So, but what's the quality of the games? What quality of games are you going to have, especially with in 2024, that USC and UCLA are leaving. So that's kind of the problem that you run into.
Well, no, that's true. I guess as we laugh and joke about this, I'm truly just intrigued at why the Pac-12 has not been able to figure out a deal, and how much longer is it before these teams start to leave? Because the latest report that's also come down the line has been that Colorado is in conversation right now with the Big 12. Like there's like legitimate conversation here. And so if that's going to be the case, honestly, it's the smartest thing for them is to leave the Pac-12 and go back to the Big 12. You'll make more money. B, there's a lot more opportunity just competition-wise, and you'll have more access. I mean, when you get Coach Prime and his team out to Florida playing at UCF.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, he's going to be recruiting Florida, and it'd be a great game. But then at the same time, the curiosity question is how long is he going to be there? But
no, at this point, man. I mean, I just wondered. I mean, well, why are we limiting ourselves to the CW? Why not the Learning Channel at this point, TLC? Right after Honey Boo Boo comes on, all of a sudden we can have USC versus UCLA. I mean, why limit ourselves here?
That's fair. That's a good one. That's a pretty good one. Or you can do the you can do Discovery Channel. We can go watch Planet Earth and then watch Planet Stanford versus Cal.
You already know Big Ed looks like a miniature offensive lineman. Why don't you just right after the Big Ed show, you just put on some college football? It's a perfect segue. Couldn't have even said it better myself.
So essentially, now remind me. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Is there not a thing? Is there not a Pac-12 network?
I mean, it exists for now.
In theory.
I mean, let's be real. The Big 12 didn't necessarily have like a Big 12 network, but you had now you have ESPN Plus, which is pretty much, you could say, a branch of, they have their own branch of ESPN Plus, which could be a Big 12 network. Obviously you had Longhorn Network that should have died a long time ago. OU had their pay-per-views that, I'll say this, that should have died. I'm glad that died. But at the same time, like, they have it. The Big 12 have it. The ACC has their ACC network, and they have ACC Network Plus X or whatever the hell it is. Then obviously the
SEC network is
SEC
great.
Network, Big Ten network, as terrible.
You gotta remember,
the
SEC and the ACC networks are owned by ESPN. That's why they look so good.
Yeah,
Pac-12 does have their own.
They have their own?
Yeah, they do. The Pac-12 network is real. It's just not available everywhere, but it's theirs.
That's what I'm saying.
It's owned by them. Yeah.
Well, boys, we can talk about the Pac-12 joining the Oprah Winfrey Network all evening, but we've got a lot of SEC news to talk about. And luckily, the SEC is not joining the Oprah Winfrey Network. They will be playing on ESPN prime time, week in, week out, and especially when Frightening's team joins, when Drew's team joins, and both of yours teams join. But Jay, I think this is a perfect time, talking about money and talking about the SEC. Oklahoma passed some legislation. It's going to be big, right? I mean, this is going to be something that, look, we need to be very honest here. NIL is in its infancy, and we've already seen how major these Texas collectives have been in terms of other states looking at these Texas collectives and saying, that's what we need to do. What they did, this is what we need to base ourselves off of. So anything that pushes the needle in NIL, I'm here for, because it's a massive conversation we need to have. So
Agreed.
Talk to me about Oklahoma's NIL bill, because I don't know a whole lot about it. Chris, I'm sure you know a whole lot about it. Jay, you told us you were looking into it. I kind of wanted to be filled in at this point about this bill and hear what y'all are talking about.
So, Chris, did you get a chance to check it out at all?
I haven't checked it. I haven't checked the new one out, so it's been my first impression.
All right, I'll give you out the clips on it. So I made a video on it last week when it dropped, and I've had a few people, make mention in comments and stuff that, hey, this would be a great topic for this panel, mainly because, with Ty being, more so the Bama fan and the SEC guy, kind of what it's going to look like with and then both of you being, the attorney minds, Chris being an actual attorney, Ty going to school basically for it and just decided that wasn't the bag for the moment, but. So this is kind of where it's going. First off, this legislation has been passed by the House of Representatives. It's headed over to the Senate. And it's expected to hit the desk of Governor Stint, and it's going to go through. What it does is a couple of things, a couple of key things. First off, one key component is this. The bill is going to allow for the schools to be involved in these NIL deals, as in they can help barter these deals. They can help bring them to fruition. They can help the connections. And because of it, it's going to require anything that these schools are involved with. It'll require the athletes to take like contracting classes as well as like financial literacy classes, things that we think is a good thing to have in general. But it's going to make it to where the schools can be involved. It'll allow the schools to say that they can use their branding or not. It will allow them to decide if timing of these NIL activities, if they conflict with any type of football related or program related activities, they won't allow it. So the schools get a little bit of power and control when it comes to the oversight of it. But the second thing that really jumps out and really makes this a big deal to me is it shields every school in Oklahoma from any sanctions from the NCAA around NIL. As in, if the NCAA has a complaint they want to say, this Oklahoma bill basically says we ignore them. NCAA has no jurisdiction here when it comes to NIL in this state. And they're passing it specifically because of what happened in Texas and in California. And I'm going to just say it now. This is pay for play. This is exactly what this is. This is ushering that in easily, because if the NCAA can't sanction you for NIL related stuff and it gives the collectives free reign to do their thing, what else is it? I mean, what else can you say it is? Now, I ask this question is, do you think that this gives Oklahoma level playing field with everyone else, or even some sort of an advantage compared to the way that the laws are written in other states. So I'll pass to the panel. Ty,
Chris, I'll
what you
have you
think?
go first.
Chris, go ahead, lead the way, attorney.
Okay, so first off, you said it allows schools to be involved, be required to take financial classes or whatnot. The latter of what I said is actually the plus side of that. That's great. But what I wrote in I want to say in quotations, who cares? Because that's pretty much what's happening now. The players that need to be taught financial literacy or whatnot, they're being taught that because obviously they're sought out by these high level agents. I'll go ahead and say it, having dealt with a pretty high level agent in the NIL deal recently, a small NIL deal. It's, I mean, those guys are pretty much well taken care of. Okay. I think the financial classes, having the schools involved or whatnot, that could be good. But at the end of the day, the coaches, that's what the coaches are there for. The coaches are already telling these kids, hey, yeah, no, that's great that you have a autograph signing in Chicago, but no, it's spring practice. If you miss a practice, like what are we talking about? You know, Ty Saban's not going to let Milroe and Simpson, and especially with this important quarterback battle going on right now in the spring, he's not going to let one of them just miss it for some old thing. Now it's cool if it's a local autograph signing, or if it's something like, I guess, in Birmingham or whatever, something that could take like a small flight to and be right back, you know. But to fly across country, take the chance of delays, all types of whatever, especially when we're trying to accomplish something right now in the spring with our installs, you know, or at least the premature install. I just don't see that happening. Am I opposed to it? No, but I don't think giving the school any more leverage than what they already have is going to sway anything, because you know that just like Texas with all their boosters, even though they say they're non-existent, I can tell you now, Castiglione is probably in the office with BV talking about, hey, you know, what's going on this season, blah, blah, blah.
Everywhere.
Those are still conversations happening everywhere. Okay.
Everywhere.
So giving the school more latitude more power to guide the conversation, that's great and all, but it doesn't really matter. Then my second point is that it shields any school from NCAA, yada, 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 yada. That's great until you find yourself with an injunction and having to basically fight this out in probably federal court, just to be honest with you. Okay. So that means that you could do whatever you want to do right now, but if there are consequences, you know the consequences on the other side, so it's either A or B. Either we win or they do, and we face the consequences. And then the last thing I'll say about that, shielding any school or whatever in Oklahoma from like the NIL stuff. And Jay, what I'm saying is that, so you won't have to be confused, is that, look, I can go file a lawsuit all day and some like for a divorce or whatever, and file something, somebody did something wrong. They can still go out there and do whatever the hell they want, simply because I may not be able to get a court date until 2-3 weeks later, you know, or a month or 4 months down the road.
Months.
So with the shielding any school, that stuff can still get caught up as far as being a battle in court that you're fighting. Now, what it does do, it helps you when you have a Ramondre Stevenson, a
Rhett Bomar,
John Bridges, Ronnie Perkins, who get in trouble for not weed or anything like that, but they get in trouble for taking money or taking stuff that probably they shouldn't have. Whereas you don't have to try to do an appeal and hope that they will be eligible to play the game. They can probably go ahead and play the game. You just know that pretty much the NCAA is going to try to vacate all wins, all championships, all everything that was associated with that season on the back end of it if you were to lose a lawsuit. So, I mean, that's just me. I'm just speaking legalese, speaking like using my legal mind, just kind of breaking this down. Those are the things that you have to do. It's a lot of upside, a lot more upside than downside to what legislation they're trying to do. But like we talked about initially, it's literally a left thing and right thing. Okay.
right?
And this is pretty much just somebody saying we need more control, not necessarily be uniform, but we need more control, at least here in our state, over this NIL thing.
Ty, before you go,
means.
I do have a question on this. And I ask this question genuinely. Chris and Ty, you can chime in on this as well. Since the NCAA refused to pass anything and they passed it to the states to figure it out on their own, do they have any type of jurisdiction to have a lawsuit about NIL related stuff at all?
Ask that one more time.
Can I? Because I get the. So I think once I answer, Chris, you're gonna get like from my yes and no. Look, naturally, the NCAA has standing because we're still talking about something under the umbrella of the NCAA, collegiate sports sanctioned by the NCAA. However, the NCAA, by extension of saying, okay, we're washing our hands of this and we're handing this to the states, they have put themselves in such a bad position. This is my point. This has been the point I've been making since we've started talking about NIL. It's why I continually, and I know people who have listened to my channel, if you could, Jay, could you go find Treasure's last comment? Because he has two comments that are great. But every time we talk about this, I bring up NCAA versus Alston because that case in and of itself and the events that happened after that have proved that the NCAA, whether it's they're in over their head, whether it's they're just negligent, or I don't know what it is, they refuse to actually step up to the plate with NIL. Now, I have my theories on this. Chris, I'm interested in hearing what you think, because my theory is they won't pass anything hard on NIL because they think they'll get sued. They won't. The NCAA, right? Yes, they won't pass anything that says all 50 states have to do this because they're going to get sued. They're going to end up back in front of the Superior Court, and they are going to get battered around. That's my theory.
Well, no, that is the thing. The NCAA doesn't want to fight 50 states with different regulations or whatnot. That they have, the NCAA may be $1 billion industry, but this is not one of those typical insurance, like defense insurance, like cases where I'm going the po' boy, poor country boy is going up against the insurance insurance defense firm where they have all the money to just wait and continue every case and wait you out until you finally settle for probably a low ball offer for them to go away. Get what I'm saying?
No doubt.
This is money versus money, and the fact that you would have to go and deal with 50 different types of NIL.
And Jay, before you go, Treasure, the reason why they can't police it is because they're stuck in between a metaphorical rock and a hard place. They know if they take a hard line stance, they're going to end up in the court. They already know the last time we were in the court, Justice Kavanaugh slapped them around just out of nowhere. They know what's going to happen.
They are a walking
contradiction,
antitrust lawsuit waiting to happen.
Can I say
that's
this
the bomb?
Right here?
Please.
I'm gonna say this on the and I want this. This is gonna be on the SEC Connect. Make it short out of this, Jay. Okay. If Oklahoma passes this law, if California passes the law we talked about the last time that they were thinking about, as far as schools having to pay these players like $25,000 and possibly more, if once they graduate, right? If California, Oklahoma, and other states adopt these things into their NIL legislation, you as a college football fan basically have to ask yourself, do I want the NCAA to exist anymore? That's the question as a college football fan you really have to ask yourself.
What purpose would they have?
NIL.
At that point, refuse. What purpose would they have?
They refuse to do their job. So, like, why are we paying them to sit there and not do their job? That's fair.
This should really be a non-issue, in my opinion. And I don't know. Maybe they do it.Maybe they're not. And if I'm ignorant of that, I'm sorry. Somebody please correct me in the comments. But in my mind, I think that this is something that the NCAA should be having seminars, open discussions, roundtable discussions with these coaches, some of these players, all of those things. They need to have these conversations with them periodically throughout the year each year. Just like, it would be like a sending somebody off to a team networking, seeing somebody step to like a team networking conference or whatever. It should be a conference, an annual conference each year to address things that are happening, because this is a hybrid situation that is always going to have its nooks, its crannies, and its twists and its turns. You can't just make litigation today and then think that litigation for NIL is going to be stand tall the following year. You have to be able to constantly evaluate this, and you need to get a small group, a small team, or whatever at the NCAA with all the manpower that you have that do constant case studies about NIL and make constant suggestions at least once every 6 months.
Well, here's something
really cure a lot.
Here's something you're going to love, and it goes off of your point and the point Truth just made. I'm going to use a phrase, Chris, that you're going to love. And some people in the chat may have heard it, and it's very much when you're talking about court cases and stuff. The NCAA, it's their job to create bright lines, and they refuse to create bright lines.
Yes.
The Supreme Court wants one thing and one thing only. Bright lines. Give us standards to which we can judge things. That's why they're constantly making tests. The NCAA refuses to take a stance on anything, and here we are. So yes, Oklahoma is now being proactive. Where does this get us? I don't know. Look, we are still in the infancy of NIL, and the NIL of today is not going to be the NIL of tomorrow, because the NIL of yesterday is not the NIL of today.
There you go. And that's the thing I think a lot of us need to take in consideration, is that this bad boy is evolving. It's in its infancy. It's barely even crawling. This bad boy is going to change a lot over the next couple of years, especially as the new TV deals come down the line. But real quick, in some comments, James, why are these states treating NIL like employment? They already have laws that regulate contracts. You are correct. The problem is none of these students are considered employees. And the schools don't want to do that because the NCAA doesn't want to do that. That's literally the only reason why the NCAA has been going to Capitol Hill, period, has been to say, we don't want the students to be, these players, these athletes, to be employees. Because if we make them employees, then we have to pay them. And if we have to pay them from our pocket, we don't want to do that. So Congress, save us. Please save us, Sonic. We need you to come out here and get us out of the ocean. Pull us out of the river, Sonic. Save us, please. And that is all they're doing. And Congress is looking like, bro, what are we supposed to do here? Like, what are we supposed to do here?
They act like Pandora's box isn't already opened.
Correct. Like Kavanaugh said it. If any other business tried to do what you're doing, it would be illegal. Because it is. Antitrust lawsuits are going to hit them. And that's the reason why that 9-0 decision, in which an antitrust lawsuit has already been filed because of the Alston decision, they have started it. So this is going to get very hairy for the NCAA soon. Matt, congratulations. Congrats, Whiskey. Proud of you, man. Happy to hear that you've got another baby on the way.
Hello.
That is beautiful. We love to hear that. Matt is definitely a frequent on all of our channels. Congrats. Thanks, my man. Thank you.
Chris,
congratulations.
I have one last question before we start talking about it. From an attorney, what is the most surprising thing about all of this? Right? Like when you're hearing this, what's the one thing that just continually stands out to you?
That we've only had a landmark opinion or kind of ruling from like the Supreme Court. We haven't really had a landmark case yet that really would give us more guidance on as far as what to do in these situations. Sometimes, from what I've seen, new laws, new ideas, fresh breath is comes about whenever something actually happens, where somebody, there's a saying that I have now that, I tell some of my clients, look, the worse it gets, the better it gets. In a situation like this, that's probably actually true, because it seems to me that we need landmark cases around the nation to where it would give states, NCAA, and people who would be involved in these lawsuits or whatever the case may be, or in situations like this, it would give them more of a precedent to be able to follow as far as this is the standard. This is what was found. because because I think that's what this is all really leading to, is a bunch of excess litigation that could have all been avoided if excuse me, if the NCAA would have stepped up from the get-go.
Created
But
that bright line.
I think
It's gonna be
that
so much
that's
fun.
what's really surprising to me, is the fact that we haven't had one of those yet to actually get us, to that point. We've had a couple of, unionization cases, different things like that, but that one case that kind of gives you like, this is clear law, and now this is going to be on a federal standard, So
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one to keep your fingers on the pulse on. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next quick, interesting topic, because we still got to talk about the Pac-12 a little bit. And then we're going to jump right into the real big meat and potatoes for the SEC. But this is one that, when it came down the line, I was like, wait, what? Like, was that a problem for them? It doesn't seem like it. It's Cliff Kingsbury going to USC. He's now an offensive analyst at the school. So 5 years. It took 5 years for USC to finally get their man, and they got him. They finally got the guy that they've been gunning for to be on the offensive side, and now he's an offensive analyst. So, Ty, I know you dropped a video on this. I never got a chance to really make one besides just an update and just interesting one. I have one question. Do you think Kingsbury is brought in to take over this team once Riley follows Caleb Williams to the NFL? And do you think Lincoln Riley wants to go to the Big Ten?
I don't. Possibly. I mean, look, there's a few theories I have about this. One, I have to wonder, like, if he's still being paid by the Cardinals, does he have like a clause in his contract that means he has to be trying to find employment? And at that point, he just found employment at $30,000 a year as an analyst, where he gets to pretty much kick his feet back and chill and still reap the benefits of millions of dollars a year.
Yes.
Now, granted, that's a very short-term thing. Look, everybody has the correct reaction to this, right? USC's issue is not their offense. However, I think, as always, when we're talking analysis, you have to first look at what we're talking about in a vacuum and then go from there. And the reason I bring that up is because we have two separate points. One, is this a good move? I think anytime you can get a former head coach to come onto your staff as an analyst, yeah, you probably don't argue too much about this. Now, the question is, does this move the needle for USC? I don't know how it could, because like I said in my video, I'm very interested to see what changes will happen in the offense, what intricacies are added, or even if we'll be able to notice the intricacies. But the thing is they did make a move on their defense. They brought in defensive analyst Greg Powers, who's had a lot of time coaching cornerbacks in places like Auburn, Alabama, Missouri, Louisville. It's experience in the NFL as well. But no, let's get one thing straight here. This isn't going to be a move that just like takes them over the top, even though I'm of the mindset, if you have a former head coach that wants to join your staff as an analyst, you probably don't say no, but offense was never the issue. So yeah, I mean it is what it is. It's interesting, but I don't, when something's interesting but not necessarily like compelling.
Yeah,
I find that to be this. It's interesting. I'm interested. I'm curious. I'm not compelled that this is like a move the needle move.
I was waiting for him to say it. No, because I 1000% agree with you. It doesn't move the needle for me.
That's interesting, but it okay.
No, I was just, if you're done.
Oh, no. I was agreeing with you. I was saying, like, yeah, I completely agree. It's interesting. It's just,
no, I the reason why I agree with it, I mean, like I said, I just agree with it. Big facts right here. Big facts. Thought this would happen at Oklahoma. We said it for so many times. Like, hey, if
true.
Lincoln ever went and got a guy, I thought as soon as he got fired from Texas Tech, that was the guy. I said if Lincoln was ever going to pull the trigger on OC, go get Cliff Kingsbury. It's the perfect setup. You got your OC. He's like-minded. Coach similar guys to what you have. Why don't you go out there and go get him? Didn't happen at that time. To see it happen now at USC, big money, storylines, Hollywood, all of that. I thought he was going to be a QB coach, but at the same time, he's going to have an effect on that offense and all the rest of that stuff. It sets everything up well. But one point I want to focus on is what you said, Jay. If Lincoln follows Caleb to the NFL, I guess my question is how good of a relationship and how confident is Lincoln in Malachi? Because I think that is what really tells you. If Malachi is as advertised, Lincoln's probably staying because he knows he's going to be pretty damn good. But the reason why it doesn't move a needle for me is because, one, Kingsbury is an analyst, and two, Grinch is still on your sideline.
Yep.
So the thing about it is that Grinch is not a cancer, but he does hurt you more than he helps you. And we've seen that.
It's fair.
Plenty of times. The question is now you ran the Big 12, let's be honest with you. And it's not like teams such as Utah or Oregon are foreign to you. It's basically the Texas and that wild card Baylor or Iowa State or K-State that you usually play. That's just like, we're more talented than them on paper. They just play hard every play. And you're not foreign to that. But the thing is that you didn't win last year, like a lot of people thought you were, that you were trending towards, and you could make all the excuses for Caleb and all the rest of that stuff. But fact of the matter is you didn't get the job done. And in the bowl game as well. So thing about it is that did you really cure any of the deficiencies that you've had lingering since OU? And the question is no. So even if you bring in all these analysts and all the rest of that stuff, they're still analysts. And there's not a lot of Gary Pattersons walking around that are basically calling the defense for you in an analyst role. That's not happening. Okay. So like I said, like Ty said, he hit it right on the head. It doesn't really move the needle, but it's a great story though. And it's going to be a great storyline throughout the year.
If I could answer one thing, Matt asked, how is it interesting? Interesting and a bad idea. Look, once again, I think if you have an opportunity to get a head coach on your staff as an analyst, cool. I think that's always interesting. When I say it's interesting, I'm literally looking at this from a schematics perspective. You have USC that's one of the top offenses in the nation. What is he going to add to take them over the top? Right? Like what wrinkles could he add that would really be of benefit to this offense that was already so good? That's what I'm curious about. That's why I say it's interesting, but it certainly doesn't move the needle because your issue is still there.
I mean, yeah, I'm intrigued in a similar capacity that he brought in another mind that's like his, but Lincoln operates offensively so much better when he's doing all of it. He just needs to bring himself a defensive guy. And, we can talk about that another day, but let's move on to why we're here.
Guys, do y'all know that Miami has a spring game on Friday? They've been relegated to a Friday spring game.
I mean, it is Miami and the weather is getting beautiful out there.
Not only did they lose to a 4-letter acronym team this year, they're having their spring game at the same time as a 4-letter acronym team in UTSA.
Let's talk about spring games as Ty has introduced us here.
That's shameful.
So, a lot of spring games are happening this weekend and next weekend, but there's a lot of high-profile ones. So, On3 put up a graphic, send it to this group. I'm going to go ahead and share it to my screen so that we can talk about the most intriguing ones, and then we're going to look at the actual schedule for for actual coming up this weekend. But these are the intriguing ones. Here's your top 10. It's considered by On3. You've got Texas. You've got Penn State, Texas A&M, Clemson, USC, Georgia, Ohio State, Ole Miss, Arizona, and Tennessee. So we've got a lot of spring games happening right now. So Ty, we'll let you lead us off.
Yeah,
How do you feel about these? What jumps out to you?
First off, I'm super interested in the Texas spring game because I was really, really, really hoping Nino or Steven would be here. I have a little bit of a take, and I'm going to completely save it until Friday.
Oh, Ty, don't tease me like that, bro. Go ahead.
Well, I think that their best wide receiver could be someone brand new.
Oh, okay, never mind. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so it's nothing like major. It's just something I want to talk with some Texas people about, kind of gauge where they're at. But no, there's a lot of Texas I'm interested in. What's the running back position going to look like? A lot of talent in that room. A lot of talent. There is no question there. But you're losing two guys. You're not just losing one guy. And the one thing we need to understand with the running back room is pass protection. Now, granted, they have some people that have been there a while, which can give them an increased understanding. It's not like they're having to throw a true freshman in there. Brooks has been there a while. He's been active. Robinson has been there a while. He's not the biggest guy, but he's cognizant in pass protection.
They're both hurt.
What's up?
I'm gonna ask you, and I'm gonna ask Frightening. If you're switching a wide receiver to running back, it just I don't know. It just makes me feel kind of weird. I don't know about the whole situation. I don't know. Like,
I mean, y'all are switching a DB to wide receiver.
Look, all I'm saying is this right here, Ty. It just makes me the difference. That's my only gripe.
No, look, listen, I think there's a conversation to be had there, but I don't necessarily know. Maybe it's just because I saw Jonathan Brooks play in the state game. He was a beast. He is a beast. I'm so excited about him. Texas A&M, I think, has a case to be number one, and I don't mean that as a shot for Texas. It's just what could have gone wrong for Texas A&M last year went wrong for Texas A&M last year.
Yep.
Coming off of a year where they recruited the best class ever in modern era of ranking. So I think Texas A&M could easily be number one. Weigman, I mean, I'm excited for him. I think he's very talented. How do you replace Anaya Smith? One, they have Evan Stewart, super talented, but really, how do you replace A-Chain? Guys, I've said this before. I think A-Chain was easily one of the most underrated and undervalued players, not only in the SEC, but in the entirety of college football. He took that offense. Wherever they went, he took them there. That guy was unbelievable, and I'm so excited to see his future. Look, we have Georgia. How could you not be interested in the back-to-back national champions, having some things to figure out, quarterback, but they have some people there. Interesting to see. Ole Miss, Pete Golding, right? Pete Golding, they finally get a defensive coordinator trying to make some moves on defense. I'm interested to see how it goes. Now, some games that aren't on here, Arkansas. Arkansas has to replace two middle linebackers, Bumper Pool and Drew Sanders. And Drew Sanders is being talked about like he's a dude in this draft because guess what? He is a dude in this draft. They have to figure that out. All the while, Texas gets to feast on a addition they got from Arkansas that, when healthy, is a true difference maker, and that's Jalen Catalon.
I don't think he's playing in the spring game.
I don't know that I would play him in the spring game just because I want him to be as healthy as possible. I already know what you can do. I don't need to see what you can do. I know what you can do. So listen, there's so many great spring games to go around, and I didn't even focus on quarterback battles, right? I just went bare surface on all these spring games.
Yeah.
Now I'm already fired up. So yeah, let's break it down.
Put that list back up. Put that list back up.
Yeah, I think there's some injuries at Texas, no doubt about it.
Texas has two running backs down, both of them. Robinson and Brooks are both, in the last article I read a few days ago, that they're still basically down.
You want the silver lining there?
Blue is the one that's running the ball right now, and I heard that he's really good.
Oh yeah, he was good coming out. You want the silver lining there? Because Brooks and Robinson have been in college systems for a while, it's probably not a bad thing that you kind of force your young guys into that position in spring and get them acclimated to like pass protection. It's not the worst thing that's ever happened, but you want them there. You want them there. Don't get me wrong.
Right. Real quick, Matt, OU's not playing this weekend. Spring games next weekend. This is all this weekend's games. That's the reason why you're not seeing Oklahoma on the list. And we'll talk about Oklahoma next week as we prepare on there. So that's the reason why. Honestly, for me, what's jumped out, and I'm gonna pass this to Chris in a second. Really, the only one on here that really does have my attention it is Texas too. I want to see who they put at quarterback. That's it.
You think there's gonna be a quarterback controversy at Texas?
This graphic tells me it is. And the rumbling supposedly is, and I think it's stupid. I personally do. Give me the quarterback that's been in college for 2 years.
I think it's going to be Quinn.
3. Excuse me.
2. It's only been 2. This is his 3rd season.
Hey, look, man. Look,
yeah.
Jay. I'm gonna go ahead and end this, man. Quinn Ewers is gonna start, man. They're just drawing storylines or whatever. Sark doesn't see. Well, he has the backbone to tell people to get off to keep their hands off of him, but obviously he can't decide on the quarterback. But that's neither here nor there. Interesting spring game. Honestly, I'm gonna go with Ohio State. Not because I think there's a quarterback battle. I just want to see is McCord staying sharp.
This is SEC Connect.
I know. I'm just saying. Ohio State with Kyle McCord. I thought Kyle McCord when CJ Stroud was out. I thought Kyle McCord came in and played good. I felt in my soul that Jack Miller was going to have to transfer, not because of the off the field incident or anything like that. But I was like, man, look, CJ Stroud is obviously your clear number 1, but Kyle McCord is coming. He's a clear number 2, and he was a true freshman when they played again. And I know it was Toledo, things like that. But, man, he was humming in the spring game and all of that. He looked sharp. When I look at the spring game, when I watch the quarterbacks, I'm not looking for touchdowns, all the rest of it. I'm watching, hey, are you working the field? Are you moving in the pocket? Are you keeping plays alive? How are you a game manager or are you a gamer? And so when I watch Kyle McCord, I'm like, look, that guy right there is going to be in a Heisman conversation, in my opinion. I don't think Ohio State misses a beat. I think that I believe wasn't him and Marvin Harrison Jr. weren't they teammates in high school?
Actually, don't know about that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. He's not going to miss a beat with that wide receiving core with Emeka and Harrison Jr. He's going to be just fine. I think really the real key is, can Fleming ever turn it on? Can he ever be that true number 1 wide receiver from, he was the number 1 ranked wide receiver coming out of high school. You're just waiting for him to kind of hit that ceiling and at least touch on it, because they need a solid third weapon, to be honest with you. But they haven't. I mean, obviously, it's Ohio State. They have wide receivers, so I'm not going to be worried about that.
They have hardline. They're fine.
Yeah. I would also go Texas A&M and Clemson. Obviously, you want to see what Clemson. Clemson is going to be Clemson with the defense. But obviously, you want to see is Klubnik going to still be able to keep it humming, and what do they have behind him just in case he actually gets injured or anything like that. So go ahead.
Well, if I could, I want to answer this right here from Truth, and then I have to actually hop off, guys. So if you're watching this from Around the Table Sports, be sure to go over to the SEC Connect so you can continue watching everything over there. Go ahead and do that right now. That way you can hear me do this and not miss a beat. But frightening, I think it's because he got to see a team like Alabama up close and personally. So he knows what a program trending in a right direction looks like. And I think when he got to Texas, look, Texas recruited well, but we always talked about it. What didn't they recruit? They recruited skill positions phenomenally, but they just didn't recruit with any sort of cohesiveness. And now that they have done that, he's looking at it. He's like, man, I got some big nasties up front. I got some linebackers I like. I got some blue chip DBs I like. I got some 5-star wide receivers, a 5-star quarterback. I'm looking around and we look like a football team that can start to get some things going. But it's for that exact reason why I think there's so much pressure on Texas this year, because Sark has been recruiting well. And I know before I get out of here, people are going to say they always recruit well. You're not wrong. They've recruited different in a manner that will lead to long-term success. The building blocks are there now. This year is big for the Texas Longhorns. And I do disagree, guys. I don't think there's any quarterback battle whatsoever. I think it's Quinn's job.
I think it's his to lose as well.
Yeah,
I do agree with the statement.
Here, and then I'm going to head out.
All right, Ty. Appreciate you pulling up, my man.
Yeah, let me find this link if my internet wants to. Here we go.
I know mine's been acting a little weird the last couple minutes too, but me personally, I don't think there's a controversy, but based upon that statement that you asked about frightening, yeah, I agree with Ty. I think he sees now and he feels like this team is built similar to what he was dealing with at Alabama. And long term, I think that he's excited about that. So, Chris, before we wrap things up,
I
man,
wasn't finished, man. Let me get
you still
to
got
it.
some more. You still got some more.
I wanted to go to Texas A&M and talk about, are we going to see an actual quarterback flourish in this game and look good in this game, or are we going to see a battle of bums again? Because last year
Ooh.
it did not look too hot. Everybody out there is people running wide open, and you just like, my God, throw the ball. My God, can we get it to him? Okay, we got it to him, but it's like a day late and a dollar short, you know? So the whole thing is that, look, I think the Weigman kid is their best option, obviously. I think he's better than Max Johnson. I think it's by a mile. And I'm sure Jimbo went and got another quarterback, but I'm interested to see, even when it's just basically a vanilla offense, I'm still interested to see the spacing and see different things or whatnot. How are they lining up? What is their posture like on offense? You know, what are they trying to do? What are they trying to accomplish today? That's what I want to see. If this is just a glorified practice, that's what I want to see. So Texas A&M, I say Tennessee. Honestly, my whole thing is, like I said, I want to see how sharp the quarterbacks are. I don't care about touchdowns.
I want to see
that.
Joe Milton, baby. I want to see what Joe Milton looks like in that
can
game.
go out there and throw for 5 touchdowns, and everybody will hype him up. But the problem for me is he going to be accurate with the ball? A guy like Joe Milton has all the intangibles to be the number 1 pick in the draft. He has all the intangibles to be what Anthony Richardson is this year.
100%. I think he's this year.
Athletic.
I think he's next season's Anthony Richardson. And the thing that jumps out better for him, not to just real quick, is that he has much more years of experience of actually playing in games. So that's something to keep an eye out for.
But the problem is he may have more years of experience, but that's by default. Anthony Richardson has more, at least on paper, has more production. And he's a starting quarterback too. I'm not with Ty. I'm Ole Miss. I can really give two you-know-whats about what Ole Miss is doing, unless they come out there and
you're not intrigued by the 8 million quarterbacks they have on their roster?
No, because I've already watched Spencer Sanders, and I don't give a damn about what Spencer Sanders is doing. And also, unless that defense comes out there in a 2-4-5, there's nothing that makes me want to go and watch Ole Miss line up against Ole Miss. I'm just being totally honest with you.
I mean, it's fair.
But other than that, I mean, I guess the headline would be Texas, but everybody's just trying to pit Quinn against the Manning boy. That's not, nobody cares. We already know Quinn is going to start. Unless Quinn is still going out there making the same bonehead decisions that he made at times during last year, that is not going to happen. Is Quinn Ewers a talented quarterback? Yes. Is he a generational quarterback like they try to make him out to be? I think that is still yet to be seen. But at the same time, it was really his first year starting. He was injured a little bit during last year, but he came on. He showed some promise at times. I'll give him that. But at the same time, like, I'm not going to sit here and kid myself. I think Sark knows, look, I got a chance to go out here and actually be pretty damn good. I'm not going to hand it over to a true freshman, and unless Quinn is just screwing up. My thing is Texas fans, don't complicate the situation. Don't turn this into a Hudson Card situation. The last thing you want to do is have the Manning boy be there, and then Mullet boy, he goes on out to his merry way, because that's the thing. Then your room is thin, and then you're sitting there trying to pit gosh, what's the other quarterback's name?
At Texas, Malik Murphy?
Yeah, Malik Murphy. Then you do the same thing to Malik, and then you force him out. So I don't know what you want to do, So that's just my thoughts.
No, so I'm intrigued by Texas because I want to see, Arch play as well as Quinn and see if they actually let Malik Murphy play. I'm curious because I don't believe that there's an actual controversy. I think the media is drumming it up just because they can drum it up.
Yeah,
but I don't think that there is a single. I think honestly Malik Murphy is going to be the backup. I don't really see Arch Manning moving into the crack in the depth chart yet, personally. But I could be wrong. That's really the only thing about Texas I was considered about. But Tennessee also jumps out at me. So for SEC schools, the Tennessee one is really the one that not only am I a fan of Tennessee and I really want to see them play, but I'm really intrigued by them. And that's mainly because with Tennessee, it's going to be Joe Milton and you got Nico Ilamalueva. I'm really curious to see how Taven Jackson left. And since they lost the backup quarterback, which I thought was going to be very special if he actually got in there after Joe Milton, I'm curious now to see what that depth chart's going to look like going forward. But I think Joe Milton this season, let me pull that back. Yes, this season is definitely going to be a moment for Joey, the former OU quarterback, to show that he is ready to be not only an OC but quarterback coach and eventually become a head coach. Because if he can reel in Joe Milton and give that man a potential Heisman Trophy type of season or candidacy type season, that man's going to get a head coaching job somewhere. And so Joey Haslell's going to have to figure that out. And I think he can with Josh Heupel, but this is all on Joey. He's going to have to figure this bad boy out. This is all on him, but if he could get Joe Milton out there, oh man, maybe something special.
You gotta simplify the game for him, just like with Rattler. It can't be too much thinking for them. Not saying that they're not, educated quarterbacks or watch film and all this stuff. I'm just saying you have to get them in a rhythm, get them going and all of that,
Well, the problem
maybe that's
with
one thing to where I see Ty's point about like a guy like Bryce Young, and he's a product of his system from Bill O'Brien, which is great because it's NFL like. But I think the thing about it is for guys like Joe Milton or whatnot, get him going, get him in a nice little rhythm. Start with some bubble screens, different things like that. Get him in a rhythm to where he's confident going forward. I mean, that's what Lincoln would do with a lot of with our guys. I mean, he was getting them all. He always get them in a rhythm, screens, couple of runs, different things like that. Get them in a rhythm, and then boom, let it start flying.
I get you, but the problem with Milton and me watching him the last 2 seasons that he's been out there, now going into his third, is rhythm isn't his problem. That's not it. He just throws the ball too hard. And it's about learning the proper touch, because whenever he was getting it, like I saw him in a rhythm after Hendon Hooker got hurt and he played in that Vanderbilt game. Of course, it's Vanderbilt, but at the same time, Vanderbilt seems like they're ascending now, especially defensively. He was in a rhythm, but still throwing the ball too hard in some capacities, and it's just because that's the rocket that man has. And like you mentioned earlier, he's probably going to be the Anthony Richardson of the draft next year because he has the big physical tools. Dude's built about the size of Cam Newton, throws as hard, and a beautiful spiral like Cam. He just doesn't have the accuracy, the touch yet.
Wow.
And that's where Joey Halsley's going to have to figure out how to get him just lighten up the passes and get the perfect touch in the perfect spots. And if he can get that, Tennessee's going to be dangerous because the dude has everything. He's hard to tackle because he's huge. He can see over the line. He throws a beautiful deep ball. If he can get him that touch, my God, they're going to be dangerous. So, all right, we're going to wrap this bad boy up. Chris, you got anything else you want to jump on when it comes to some of these spring games?
No, man, I'm excited to see some football this weekend. I'll definitely try to tune into the USC game and watch more of what I've seen at Oklahoma. I watched that spring game and I just thought to myself, like, oh, I know that. Yeah, that's going to here. Yeah, that's going here. Oh, yeah. Nice play, Lincoln. I was like, we've seen these plays all before. I was like, oh, you ran that against OSU. You know you did. Stop playing. That was Mikey Henderson's play. What are we doing? But yeah,
that's funny.
Other than that, one thing I will say that comes out of that the USC game, what happens with Miller Moss? The backup quarterback last year. Hey, I'm trying to tell you guys, if you guys don't know, that kid was a high 4-star coming out of high school. Why he hasn't left USC, I have no idea. That kid is talented. The same throws Caleb was making, I was like, if Caleb get hurt, I was like, that kid gonna come out there and still ball out. He's not a Tanner Mordecai. That kid is a gamer. I think that he could flourish in another system, but that's just my opinion. But
you're right, and they'll be on the Pac-12 network playing at noon. So if anybody wants to watch USC do theirs, you can watch them this weekend. They're one of the many this weekend. Florida's doing theirs on a Thursday night.
Ain't nobody watching that. I mean, ain't nobody watching it. Hey man,
That's terrible. But there's a lot going on this weekend. Make sure you pull up and check out some of the spring games. You know we're going to talk about them on next Wednesday on the SEC Connect, especially the SEC ones. We'll focus on them mainly next week when we bring in the Texas boys and everybody else. So thank y'all for pulling up. We appreciate it. You know where to find Chris, Horns Down Podcast. You can always find me at Unfair Sports, Ty Around the Table Sports. So those that are viewing on Ty's channel, you know where to find myself and Chris as well. Hit the like, subscribe button, and share. Why? Because sharing is caring. We definitely want to put some more great content out here for y'all. SEC Connect's going to grow. We're going to be doing some more stuff right now. We're just having fun with live streams, getting ourselves acclimated to doing multiple channels. But outside of that, we'll chop it up with all of y'all very soon. Peace.
Nick ran from me, y'all.